So before we start the wireframes, first let's understand what is a wireframe. Again, a very basic understanding of the wireframe. Why do we need it? What will be the outcome of creating a wireframe and everything you can see, right? Okay, so let's start. Okay. Wireframes. Right? So wireframes. Wireframes itself, as word says, some kind of frames. It can be like usually frame, how a frame looks like. If we just, again, I'm just taking an example of Figma also that I gave you in the very early days of classes. Like whenever we are creating a frame, so frame just act like a you can say a photo frame, right? So photo frame has these four sides. So this is what we call a wireframe also. I mean, just a frame only, right? And the wire means something that is hollow, right? That we can see through, or maybe just small or thin lines. The wireframe, the frame, so the sketch that is made with the wires or the just the lines only, right? So this is what we called a wireframe. If we just look or just go by the word only, right? That is what we called a wireframe. Now, in our UIUX designing, we have two types of wireframe. Understand this thing? We have two types of wireframe. The one is the low fidelity wireframe, right? And the second one is the high fidelity wireframes. Now you must be thinking, I mean, low fidelity, what is the difference between low fidelity and high fidelity? I mean, just the fidelity means, if you just look at the fidelity word only, right? So fidelity means the quality of being faithful. This is something else. And the quality of being accurate or close to the original, right? That means how much the thing that we are representing with the fidelity is accurate, or that can represent the quality of it, right? So now if we just combine these two things, right, low fidelity and high fidelity, so itself says, okay, so something that is having low accuracy, right, low accuracy wireframes. The second thing can say high accuracy wireframes, right? So the basic difference you might have get with the explanation, with the just the meaning of these words. So low fidelity is just minimum wireframes that we call something like this, right? Or this is something that we call a low fidelity wireframe. These are the just low fidelity wireframes that gives us low accuracy or low quality about a concept, about an application, about an product that we are going to make, right? This is the low accuracy. But what do we mean by the high accuracy? High accuracy is, let's see, high fidelity. So it is just directly, you can say, the UI only, whatever the designs you are creating, right? So for just for this example, you can say this was the low fidelity wireframe and this was the high fidelity wireframe, right? When we are creating the design, so usually we do not call it design or UI, we just call it high fidelity wireframes, right? And the low fidelity wireframes is that gives us the very low accuracy of the idea that we are pitching, right? On the might be, which I am thinking as of now, that can answer the question of Weber also here, right? Because he was also trying to say, like, we might have, let's say, medium fidelity wireframes also, right? It can be there. So what I think that can represent is the very first step before the wireframing, right? So let's call whatever we understood by the low fidelity, right? So low fidelity meaning was this one, right? Where we are trying to represent the things. Okay, so this is the logo. This can be an image. This can be a some paragraph over there, a call to action button, and a login button, right? So this, let's say, this was the low fidelity wireframe. Now assume this is our medium fidelity wireframe, right? So if we understand this this medium fidelity wireframes as the that grayscale wala wireframe, right? So low fidelity can be the sketches that we create, right? Now let me go back one step to this search that we did. This may be, right? If we just look at this, right? So what it is a kind of a skeleton view. This is having the lowest fidelity of the wireframe, because here we cannot say, is this the category? Is this the filter they are telling about? Is this the, let's say, main food items, or this is something else? If this is a, let's say, a container, what does it mean, right? We can say, okay, so this is a search bar, right? Under the bottom menu, what kind of things we can have here? We don't know, right? So let's say this is a very low fidelity wireframe that we can either call it skeleton view also, right? So this was just an example to make you understand about the difference between, if let's say medium fidelity is also there. So if medium fidelity, you want to take. So you can say, okay, so low fidelity is something that sounds as a skeleton view, and medium fidelity is something that is having some extra content out there. Something like this that can say, okay, so home will be like this, food orders and setting will be here, right? This is, you can say, the medium fidelity. And high fidelity is same as we talked, right? Now, I mean, just not to get confused here, right? So we can just omit this one for a time being, and we can just say we just have the low fidelity wireframing and the high fidelity wireframe, right? Just the normal wireframes with some text over there, some notations also, and the high fidelity wires, right? If you want to use skeleton view, so you can just say skeleton, or you can say what we call it, storyboard. Storyboarding is something else, but yeah, skeleton view, right? Skeleton view is just using the rectangles and circles only, not using any kind of text over there, right? That, so that you can assume as a skeleton view, or maybe before the wireframes you can put it, right? So today we are going to explore how we can create the wireframes, the low fidelity wireframes, and what is the minimum requirement, minimum things that we have to do. So let's jump here. So let's take say iPhone 16 plus something we can take. Right, so let's call it screen 1. Right now, usually we just use the gray color to make the wireframes. Right. So now, I mean, again, the very basic things that we can make here is usually we have a notification panel at the top, right? Some kind of this kind of bar where we can have, let's say, our network signal, our battery percentage, and time also. This is one of the top or the notification tray, you can say. If we duplicate it, we can put it at the down. So this can be our navigation buttons. If we are just talking about the Android, right? The back button, the home button, and the reset button. So we are taking a kind of like margin for the top and the bottom. Now we just we need to take a margin from left and right side. So let's say I just want to make it as a, let's say, 22 pixel, right? So the width is 22 pixel. So the margins which I'm taking is 22 pixel for me from left and right. Cool. Again, it's up to you. Whatever type of spacing you want to take, you guys can. But like 18 to 24, 25 something is the kind of ideal size taken. You can go beyond, I mean, below 18 also if you want. People create it till 12 also, right? But again, it depends how wide and what is the category of your application, right? So now, as we have created just two bars for the safe area, just to calculate the safe area, you can say, right? We have a notification tray, we have the let's call it navigation bar, something like this, and now we have our canvas here, right? So if we just duplicate it, right, and if we increase the height, so this is a kind of our, let's say, a title bar or the top bar of the the application, right? So I'm just adding a arrow here, right? So we have an arrow here, just like a back button I'm just creating, right? So back button is there. Now let's say screen title. I'm just saying it screen title. We just get on it's screen title. Let's say here we are just adding a kind of a icon button, right? So I'm just adding a circle, and so I can have a star. So maybe again, it depends upon you how you want to take the things. I mean, I usually represent any type of icons with the help of stars. Okay? So if you want, you can put the actual icons also here. Just for time being, I'm just using star here, right? You have to use your own, or maybe you can say the icons that you want to put in the high fidelity vibes, right? So yes, this is what we are having now. You just have to create. Let's say I'm just giving a normal example here. Let's say advertisement, right? For n pixel. Let's say this is my banner, something which I'm putting here. Let me do the kind of a radius over here, and let's say food items. I'm just putting something, or let's say category if you want, and then let's say I have a circle, and let's say Chinese, right? So I'm just pressing the Control G, or either I can right click and click on this function group selection, or I can press the Control plus G. So just to create a group over here. Now if I move, so things will be combined, right? So I can just Control D, D for donut, right? And this will duplicate the layer. So now if you again duplicate it, it will just repeat the spacing that we use for the last item, you say, right? So if we select all, now we can increase the gap between them, right? You will able to see this kind of feature only when you are having the equal spacing between two elements, right? Or you can see the all elements that we are selecting. So let's say I'm just removing this thing, right? So if we just select it, click, right? Now, as you can see, we don't have that option available here. But if we look at this icon, right, this says distribute equal horizontal spacing. So if I click on this one, so now everything is equally spaced, you can see. And now we can increase the spacing between them, right? Or you can see this option here. This one. These two are the same things, right? So let's say Chinese, North, let's say South, let's say Italian, right? Cool. Next thing, let's say I want to show, okay, so there will be some kind of a divide between the screen. So I'm just taking a very low color here and I'm just selling, okay, so trending food items. Put it here, trending food items. And this I want, let's say, kind of a card I want to make, and I can make it white color because my background is a little bit dark. I can give it a very low border. And let's say before this one, let's say I'm having a image, right? So maybe I can say an image over here, right? So let's say this represents an image, and let's say food item name. Okay, let's say food item price, or I can just say I can put price I can put here, right? So let's say triple A, and I think it's 14 pixel. I can give a weight to this one, and let's say I just want to use some stars to show the ratings, right? So I can just create a star. I can control D, duplicate it, give a space, control D for 5 times. Now we are having a 5-star rating here, and we can reduce the size. That is enough. Something like it's cool. And same thing, we can so first let us group them and duplicate it. So we're having another food item, duplicate it once. So yes, so this is what we are having as a wireframes here, right? A very basic wireframe, I guess you can say. Yes. Okay. So now, as you guys saw, like we just have to create the boxes over there according to our imagination or according to our understanding what and where we want to put over there, right? This is up to you how you want to create your wireframes. You have to create, right? You can add whatever the things you want, and how you want, you guys can add it according to your preference, right? Now the question here is, can you use the different colors? Yes, you can use the different colors, but usually we kind of like standard industry standard, you can say, that we are following to just use the gray color to create the low fidelity wireframes, right? So it is good if you're just using the low fidelity wireframes, because let's say if I'm just putting some colors here, right? I hope I will be able to make that thing by, let's say this kind of a blue color, a kind of a this, you can say, kind of a shortcut that I'm just applying it, right? So as you can see here, right? So let's say you guys just use some kind of like blue color to use your wireframe, some different blue colors, right? So now as you can see, it has something to say, right? This right side screen is having is trying to say something because you have used a color over here, right? It has some feelings out there because we are showing the information with the help of color, and every color does represent some kind of feeling to someone out there, right? But on the left side, on the other hand, we are having a neutral feeling out there, right? We are not here to promote any kind of feeling. We are not here to promote any kind of a upcoming colors that we might use, right? We are just purely using neutral gray color here, or the black color, or the white color. These kind of color does not represent any kind of feeling, right? But it does. But usually when we use just these two, three colors, it does not going to impact users' mind out there, right? So we try to avoid colors while using or while creating our wireframes, right? Now the question here is, why do we need to create these wireframes? Because when we can just directly design the screens, or you can say why we need to design the low fidelity wireframes when we can directly go for the high fidelity wireframe, right? So we create these wireframes, right? As you guys saw, it just took me, let's say, maximum 10 minutes to create a wireframe for one single screen, right? Now it will be easy for me to create another screen, and that will be more faster than this one because a lot of components I have already created, right? So it will take me, let's say, 5 minutes, and next screen, so it can be 2 minutes, right? So on an average, I will be spending 2 minutes to 5 minutes on a one single screen while creating a wireframes, right? So now if we just, let's say, calculate it, right? So let's say we are having 30 screens. Our designs or the application that we are making is consist of 30 screens, right? So to create 30 screens, let's say you are having idea, you are having everything set in your mind, right? You don't have to, to think a lot about the placement of the things, just placement of the things, because these things we have already done where while we were using or creating the user data flow chart and as well as our information architecture, right? And in the what we might have included in the information architecture for this particular screen, so it will be having, let's say, again the title, of course it can be there, let's say advertisement banners, right? Category, or let's say food categories, right? And let's say trending food items, right? So I want this data in my this screen, right? And I can write down some of the extra points for, let's say, trending food items. So I know this is going to be a card, right? So what I need to enter in the card here, let's look at that. So let's say food items, food item name, sorry, food image, food price, and food rating, right? So this I am food item card. Now if I have defined these things when I was creating the information architecture, this thing, right? When I was creating the information architecture, here we have already defined all that, right? Now so let's say we have information architecture for all the 30 screens. So let's say if I'm taking 5 minutes per screen, right? So it will be, let's say, 150 minutes to design the app, right? You can say, right? So 150 minutes you will take just to design the wireframe, the low fidelity wireframe for the 30 screens, you can see, right? Now, on the other hand, let's take an example that you guys, let me remove it, you guys directly jump into the design only, right? Let's say you want to create the design directly. Now, before creating the design, you must have a lot of things. You might prepare a lot of things out there. What? Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So before doing, let's say you need font, what font you want to choose, what colors you want to use, what shapes you want to use, what images you want to use, let's say what illustrations you want to use, what animations you want to use, blah blah, a lot of things, right? These things you need to have before start creating the design, right? Now you cannot select and do these things in very less time, right? And even if you have these things, it will take a lot of time you to create. You might take 1 hour or 2 hour just to create one single screen design, right? Or you can say the high fidelity design out there. Yes. So that is why, just to save the time, or you can say just to have a quick idea or quick concept of the prototype or of the idea within the less amount of time, that is why we create the wireframes, the low fidelity wireframes, right? And it will be easy for you as a designer to make some changes, right? To make some changes in the low fidelity wireframes. Because if, let's say, my stakeholder here is asking me to let's say change this particular layout, right? He does not want this. So it will be easy for me to just select this and delete it, or maybe just change the orientation, or just change the from circle to, you can say, the rectangle out there, right? It will be easy for me because I don't have to think about a lot about the text, about the font, about the spacing, about the look and feel, about the colors, right? I don't have to think about those things whenever someone is suggesting me the things, right? Because when we are into this phase only, right, the user data flow and when we're documenting or when we're defining things, when we are into this phase, so it gives us a tip of the iceberg idea about the product, but we will not have, or we will not understand how it will look, what will be the hierarchy of the things, right? This thing we might not be having an idea. So that is why we create the low fidelity webs, right? And just we don't have to spend a lot of time on the conceptualizing the things, or to just get an idea about the screens, about the hierarchy, about the placement of the UI components and the objects and the features that we're putting here. It will also give us an idea how a user will interact also, right? Whether should we place the category section in the in between or at the top, it will also give us this kind of idea also, right? And we can iterate our wireframes more easier than iterating the designs, right? So you can say this was about why we create the wireframes, how we make the wireframes, and what is the benefit of creating the wires. Of course, everything has the pros and cons, right? If we talk about the cons here, so it can be kind of a time wasting also. But if on the it can be time wasting in only one or two scenarios where you are working on a existing product, right? If you are working on an existing product that is already developed, that is already made, you are making some changes in the existing design, so at that time point of time you might not go for the wireframes, right? So kind of a con, you can say. Again, it will also not give you a clear idea about the product also, as we call it as a low fidelity or low accuracy wires, right? So this is how you have to create wireframes for the product you guys are working on. If possible, you guys can just create one or two wireframes just for the case study you guys are working on, right? One, two, three, or four, five, whatever types of wireframes you want to make, you guys can, right? So if you click on this one, you can go to the view. The same thing can be in the old UI also, right? You can go to the view, and on the third we are having the rulers, or either you can press the shift plus R, right? If I press shift plus R, now I have these rulers in my Figma, right? So if I hover on this one, as you guys can see, I have a two arrow capped line here. So if I click and drag it, I will be having a ruler, right? So I can put, let's say, if I want to make a margin over here, so I can, let me change color a little bit, right? So I want, let's say, 20. So width, I can say, let's say 20 pixel, right? Before it was not 20 pixel maybe. So I can just click and drag. Now this can be my 20 pixel spacing. And same thing, if I put it on the right side also, again, I can place a line here. Okay, so it was 22. Okay, never mind. So yes, this is how you guys can put rulers in your wireframe. It is a very good practice if you guys have. I mean, your wireframes also will look good because you guys are following the same spacing and the alignment of the objects in your wires, right? So that is why we use these kind of rulers, the red rulers. I mean, you guys can use the grids. Again, I'm not a big fan of grids. Again, personal preferences, right? Because I have not used it, so I'm used to the just rulers only, right? But you can use. So what you have to do, let's say this is your screen, right? So if you select a frame, right, now under this we have the layout grid option here, right? This is one we are having. So if you click on the plus, right, so we are having the grid option here. So either gate we need to do the columns, right? We can use the columns out here. So as you can see, margin, so I can use a 20 pixel margin over here, right? And the count I will take, let's say 3 only. Usually we just take 3 or 4 maximum while design for the mobile apps, right? So gutters is something that is between these two lines, these two images, you can see. So let's say my design system is, let's say, 8 pixels. So I want to use 8, 12, 16 something. So I want to use 16 pixels, right? So now the spacing between two gutters, these two lines, is 16. If I decrease it, as you can see, this size is decreasing, right? So again, either you can use 8, either you can use this as a 16, according to your preference, right? So now we can just create our boxes, and it will help you to again to do the same thing that we were able to do here, right? But I mean, it feels, I mean, something is like covering your flow, right? So that is why I don't just use it. So if you are a big fan of grades, you can just own the grades, and after that you can put your rulers if you want, right? Same thing. And then if you can select the screen, then you can off the grids, right? It's a kind of a blockage to me. That is why I do not use the grids, and I'm not a big fan of grids also, right? But yeah, personal preferences. If you guys think, okay, so grid can be helpful for you, so you guys can absolutely use it. No worries. But yeah, I hope you guys got this, how you can use the grids and how you can add them.